Welcome back to Just Like Television, where the pixels are chunky, the aliens are rubbery, and the nostalgia is on full display. Today we're diving into one of the shortest and muddiest Doctor Who stories of the Tom Baker era, the Sontaran Experiment. 2 episodes, 1 potato-headed villain, 0 budget. Let's go. The Sontarans made their debut in Jon Pertwee's The Time Warrior, penned by Robert Holmes, who proposed reusing them for the hastily commissioned Season 12 story, also serving as a practical move that saved on costume design by recycling an existing villain. While revisiting The Time Warrior for this video, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it, despite not being a Jon Pertwee fan. Ironically, he's the part I liked least in an otherwise enjoyable story. And let me be clear, I'm not throwing any shade at Pertwee fans in saying that. He's just not my cup of tea. Season 12 of Doctor Who kicked off with the Doctor facing a giant robot in the story that bridges the gap between the Jon Pertwee years and the new Tom Baker era. From there, the Doctor takes on the Whirlwind, an insectoid parasite species, in the Ark in Space, a story that firmly establishes the darker, more atmospheric tone favored by incoming producer Philip Hinchcliffe and scriptwriter Robert Holmes. And with that groundwork laid, we arrive at the Sontaran Experiment, a compact 2-part story that was needed to fill a gap in the schedule after the Ark in Space was cut down from a 6-part story to a 4-part serial. The Sontaran Experiment is rather unique in that it was shot entirely on location and entirely on videotape, where the impressive set design on the Ark in Space did a commendable job of convincing the viewer that they were indeed on a space station. The outdoor location of the Sontaran Experiment lends itself to a very believable setting. The Doctor, Sarah, and Harry have beamed down from Space Station Nerva to a very soggy Earth, but not just any Earth, a post-apocalyptic, abandoned Earth where something sinister is lurking in the rocks. Having left the TARDIS behind on Nerva, the Doctor starts fixing the circle of transmat refractors with his sonic screwdriver, while Sarah and Harry wander off to explore. What could possibly go wrong? Field Major Steyer of the Sontaran Empire is conducting Joseph Mengele-level experiments on a bunch of astronauts that were lured to the now desolate and uninhabited planet Earth. The purpose of Steyer's torture is to assess the capabilities of humans in preparation of a full-scale invasion of the planet. Now, don't look too closely at the plot or it all falls apart. The Sontarans are preparing for a full-scale invasion of an uninhabited planet, one they had to lure astronauts to because there was no one else on the planet to experiment on. It makes no sense. Steyer's got a little helper, a scavenger robot that trundles around the moor, snatching up astronauts and even Sarah like it's playing a very aggressive game of tag. By modern standards, it looks like a wheeled dustbin, but in 1975, it did the job. It's not essential to the plot, but its presence adds a little extra dash of flavor to the story. Tom Baker famously falls and injures himself during the filming of this story. Philip Hinchcliffe feared that his new job as producer of the series might be in trouble as a result, as the star of the show might be down for the count. Baker himself feared this injury might put him out of a job. But the injury wasn't as severe as all had feared, and Baker was able to return to filming, albeit in a neck brace and sling, which he was able to conceal with his famously long scarf. Kevin Lindsay, who played Field Major Steyer, wasn't well during the filming, as he had a heart condition that limited his ability to move about. Sadly, he passed away just a few weeks after this story aired. Given the limitation of Tom Baker's injuries and Kevin Lindsay's heart condition, the fight scenes between the Doctor and Steyer are largely done by stunt doubles. There are only a handful of 2-part stories in the entire classic Doctor Who library, and in doing my research for this video, I went and watched all of them so I could properly comment on the 2-part format. The Edge of Destruction, a 2-part adventure from William Hartnell's era, was quickly cobbled together on a minimal budget to fill a gap in the production slate. With a setting limited entirely to the TARDIS interior, The narrative relies solely on the regular cast to carry the drama. It's a sparse story that's more of a character study than a plot-driven episode. Another William Hartnell two-parter, The Rescue, acts as a gentle reset for the TARDIS team after Susan's exit, introducing Vicky as the new companion. More transitional than memorable, it's a modest story with a clear purpose. Next up, Black Orchid, a two-part Peter Davison story, which has long been a personal favorite of mine. It's a charming period piece that presents a cozy murder mystery nestled in the elegance of 1920s rural England. A brisk two-parter set in 1215, The King's Demons pits the Fifth Doctor against the Master, who's impersonating King John to disrupt history. It's slight but atmospheric and has the unfortunate task of introducing the shape-shifting android Chameleon. It certainly befits the 80s era of Doctor Who. And finally, we have yet another two-part Davison story, The Awakening, that drops the Fifth Doctor, Tegan, and Turlough into a rural English village reenacting a Civil War battle. It's not a story I'll be revisiting anytime soon. Looking across the classic era's two-part stories, the shorter format rarely hits the mark. In my estimation, only the Sontaran Experiment and Black Orchid managed to make the most of the limited runtime, where most others feel more like filler than focused storytelling. Despite its limitations, the Sontaran Experiment is a tight, eerie little tale that connects the arc in space to Genesis of the Daleks. Is it perfect? No, it's not. Is it muddy, weird, and quintessentially Doctor Who? Absolutely. It's the kind of story that makes you love the show more for its flaws than its triumphs. And it's definitely a story that makes for a good rewatch on a rainy day. The story wraps with the Doctor, Sarah, and Harry stepping into the transmat, believing they're heading back to Nerva Beacon. But unbeknownst to them, they've seen the last of Vera, left behind at the end of the arc in space. I'd love to see a comic or Big Finish audio exploring her fate and what became of the rest of her crew. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.